What's up, everyone? Welcome to Level 7. It is time for another episode of the Agents of Fandom podcast. I'm your host, TJ Zwarych, ready to talk today about some Eyes of Wakanda, the newest Marvel television animated show dropping on Disney Plus. All 4 episodes now streaming on Disney Plus. Got the chance to view it a little bit early and now finally excited to talk about it here on the show. If you're joining us live, hit that like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Make sure you follow the Agents of Fandom on socials at Agents Fandom on TikTok and Twitter, Agents of Fandom everywhere else. No Damon joining me today. He's too good for us, too popular for us. He had other plans. He made plans on a Friday night. Can you believe this guy? But luckily, we have a wonderful crew helping me break it down. First up, we have, I feel like we're seeing him all the time lately, our guy. We got Jam. How you doing, my friend?
Doing good, bro. Thank you for having me once again.
Happy to have you on. Excited to talk about this show with you. And joining us as well, co-host of Faith Hero and the HowToWatchFreeTV podcast, Free Space. I always forget I see the social name all the time, and it makes me forget the official name. But I know it's HowToWatchFreeTV on IG. We got our guy, our friend, Aaron Perine. How you doing, Aaron?
I'm doing good. As long as you remember the handle, we're good. We could be whatever you need.
And it's actually you're one of my favorite people to have on this specific segment before we get into, I mean, in general, but this specific segment before we get into Eyes of Wakanda, and that's what you're watching, because I want to know what you're watching. And since you have a podcast where you tell people where they can watch some great stuff for free, you're such a good person to have on for a segment of what you're watching.
Oh man, thank you. It's been a bunch of stuff this week. Like Tracy Ellis Ross has a show on freaking Tubi where it's like her travel show. And it is very funny. I've been dying laughing at Solo Traveling with Tracy Ellis Ross. It's so like the Great British Bake Off pilled. Like perfect going to sleep television. Amazing going to sleep television. Highly recommend if you just need something chill in the background. It's wonderful. And then of course, watching other just random movies and stuff. I just saw Bad Guys 2. And the little ones, they're going to be elated at that. It's like there's been multiple screenings here at Phase Hero where me and Jamie are sitting in a movie and she's like, another one, like, oh my God. She's not huge on like the kids movies, but the like chorus of 8-year-olds behind us is just going wild, like a bunch of Jonathan Majors's. They're just going insane in the background. And I'm like, I think we're overruled, Jamie. I think that they like it. I think it's fine.
It's like the Mario movie. So many people were like, this ain't it. I'm not down. And then all the kids were like, yeah.
Oh man, like you have to sit there in the middle of like Minecraft and be like, yep, I'm not the target audience for any of this anymore. That's what's going on here.
Jam, how about you, my friend? What you been watching?
Oh man, I've been loving The Studio on Apple TV.
Oh my God,
I am halfway through it, and I'm just fascinated. We were talking about it a little bit off pod, but it's fascinating. That's the best way I can describe it.
It's a truly, truly great show. It's one of the gems over on Apple TV Plus. I've always kind of said they're like a quality, not quantity streaming, because there's so many great shows, but not all that many shows. But that's not really the case anymore. Apple TV has a lot of shows. Like, I'm not saying they're not great. They're still great. They actually have the quantity now to match. They got a lot more shows over there. If I were to just like, I'd say the one I use the most is Prime Video, just because in Canada, we have all these different channels combined into Prime Video. And so that's my Paramount Plus. That's, a whole bunch of other things in one. That's where I watch all my DC animated content. But like, if I were to just pick one for like, you can only watch the shows from one streaming service for a month, what are you picking? I feel like Apple TV is probably that one that I would go with, just because there's so many great shows over there. In terms of what I've been watching recently, and this is a funny story. I'm excited to tell our friend who we keep referencing, Jamie Dirac, Aaron's co-host over on the Face Hero podcast, this story because I know she's a big Natasha Lyonne fan. And so my wife and I were a little bit delayed on watching the new season of Poker Face, but it also has been a while since I've seen any Poker Face, and so I forgot what the show was. I thought I was going into a new season of Russian Dolls, which is a different Natasha Lyonne show, and so like totally different premise, and I just mixed up the titles, and so I was like mentally preparing for this, crazy show where she's reliving the same day over and over and over again, and I like feel like I got to get into like the right mindset to lock into this crazy premise. And then we get there and I'm watching the previously on and I'm like, wait, this is a totally different show. Like I've seen all the faces, but I had totally forgotten the premise of the show I was getting ready to watch. And it actually made me a lot more excited because I like Poker Face better than Russian Dolls. And long story short, I am on the season finale, have not watched the season finale yet, but I've watched everything up to it. I really like Poker Face. It's a really fun show. It's like, it doesn't take itself too seriously. It's quite goofy in terms of like, murder mystery styles. It takes a very different twist on murder mystery than most because you see how it happens and you see who does it. And it's about how does this one person, figure out how to tell the truth based on evidence on a very, very like perfect crime. Like there are always these perfect crimes that if it wasn't this specific person, Charlie Cale, Natasha Lyonne, these crimes would not get solved. And so I really like Poker Face. Big recommend. It is not Russian Dolls, different show, but I really recommend it because it is very enjoyable. Natasha Lyonne's great. And if you watched Fantastic Four First Steps and thought, where's my Natasha Lyonne? Why is she only in these two scenes? Go and check out Poker Face because it's a real great show. But we're here to start talking Eyes of Wakanda, and I guess I keep teasing it and pulling it back down because based on today, happy Spider-Man Day, everyone. I feel like there's a little bit of Spider-Man news we should touch on first. We got a quick, brief, teasy glimpse of what his costume will be in Brand New Day. You see the mixture of Andrew's suit and Toby's suit kind of interwoven together in this suit. You had what people thought was a full version of the suit go viral, but it was actually racist Spider-Man, the fan-made Spider-Man Lotus film. And that was the one that went viral. And so now you have hundreds of thousands of people believing that that is going to be the suit in Brand New Day. It's not. It's not. If you saw that and you thought it was real, it's not. That's not the suit. But we did get like a brief tease of the real one. And that's minor news because we got confirmation that the Scorpion will be back in Spider-Man Brand New Day. THR dropped the story, and not only will the Scorpion be back, but all the rumors we've been hearing and talking about, we've talked about it on the pod, we've speculated, and THR confirms it is true. Mark Ruffalo's Bruce Banner will be in Spider-Man Brand New Day. Good luck, Disney. Good luck, Marvel, on that press tour. You're going to have your two biggest spoiling actors on your press tour at the same time for this one. Hopefully it doesn't have too many big massive reveals that they don't want us to know about to going into Doomsday because these guys might let them free. But Jam, I'll throw it to you first. Let's talk Scorpion, then we'll talk Hulk. What do you think about this guy being back?
I'm so happy to have Scorpion back. We just seen the character in freshman year, but to have him live action is gonna be a whole new thing. I'm curious if they're gonna use some elements like of design with the live action, how he looked in the animation. But I'm just excited. My biggest theory is if he's actually going to be Venom or become Venom within this film. I think that's what everybody's talking about online. So I'm just excited. A bunch of theories. The hamster is running in my head on the wheel, so I can't wait to see what they do with him. As far as Bruce Banner, the Hulk, that's fascinating. I mean, the rumors and the theories of people were talking about maybe he's going to be a college professor for Peter or something. The Mr. Negative change him from Smart Hulk back to Savage Hulk. So there's so many thoughts about that. I'm excited. It's going to be one of those things. If that comic reference does does he remember? Does the Hulk actually remember Peter? You know, even though they didn't really meet
That's the
in the
scene I want.
MCU.
That's the scene I want.
Yeah, like even though they didn't really like meet in the MCU, is the Hulk going to remember that this is Peter Parker versus, because the whole world knew, you know? So maybe that version of the Hulk subconscious might have retained that knowledge or whatever. So that's it. That's really all I got. I'm excited to see both of these characters return.
Aaron, how about you? What do you think of the internet's prevailing theory that, you know, the MCU is not going to redo Eddie Brock? You know what Spider-Man villain has had a symbiote for a long period of time in comics? It was Scorpion. One of my favorite, you know, running gags on the Phase Hero podcast is when you bring up Black Goop. And we may, it is time. I get to bring it up here on this one. We might get our Black Goop Scorpion and have him go Venom mode.
I think that's a much better way to, if you're going to do the black suit, to do it instead of just cramming Tom Hardy in here. Because also, good luck trying to get Tom Hardy onto that set with all this attention on it and it not leak before the movie comes out. It's impossible. It's really impossible. Especially, I just remember how insane Deadpool and Wolverine got, and even Daredevil in New York. You knew half of the freaking scenes of the season before the first episode dropped. It was insane. So yeah, I think that you might be onto something. I think that the way that the suit rotated into darkness at the end is a hint, hint, nudge, nudge. All of you are freaking out about raised weapon, and really, one of the main parts of Secret Wars in the comics is Spider-Man gets a black suit. So it all kind of lines up. I am just. It is very funny that the audience that really did have a problem with like a bunch of like, they called like, what is it, Multiverse of Madness, like a cameo fest, is like full force PD Pablo, twirl your head around, twirl your shirt around your head like a helicopter about all these people in this movie. There's a lot of folks in this movie, and I'm like, what happened to it? Didn't That's not what this is about. What happened? And also, the more people you shove in it, the less it's just like a quote unquote grounded Spider-Man story, which is the other buzz term that everybody keeps using. But I just think that people are so thirsty to see a Rage Hulk again in anything, and then a team up that you never considered possible for maybe 2 years ago in John Bernthal's Punisher coming into contact with such a thing seemed like AO3, like, you know, like fan fiction nonsense. And now here we are, and it's the real world. So it's going to be big. I agree with you. I would not envy the person who does PR. I don't even know who it is anymore over there at Marvel Studios, because it's changed a couple of times. But they woke up today at a cold sweat, like, man, a 12-month task to keep all of this movie under wraps after the clown car of the last one, and there's more people in it, is just very funny. Godspeed.
Yeah, that one is going to be, I'm worried about how that's going to go. I would have loved to have, you know, not like Toby and Andrew stuff aside, you know, that was the world's worst kept secret. Anybody who was slightly involved in this industry or as a fan that followed stuff, you knew that Toby and Andrew were going to be in that movie. But like, I would have loved to have not known Aunt May was going to die. You know, like, I didn't mean to come up on that Reddit spoiler, but I did. It popped up on my feed, and I knew Aunt May was going to die. And like, there were just so many parts of that movie that it was still magical because, you know, growing up on Spider-Man the Animated Series, I dreamt of this happening one day. But there were just so many parts of that movie that I feel like it would have been, you know, endgame level excitement and cheering for me had I not known that certain things were going to happen. Still really cool, but knowing about them definitely brought it down for me. Aaron, what do you think?
I wanted to say, I've told you about like my wife sitting there in it, right? And her just like ignoring most of the stuff around our jobs for her own well-being, and like her being knocked off her socks. Like from the moment Charlie Cox popped in throughout, she was just like, what? You're kidding. This is, and I'm like, how amazing must it be to be in these theater seats and not do our job and not know this is about to happen. This is about to happen. This is about to happen. It was nice to live through that. It was nice to live, but you're right. It's like, man.
It will never not, you know, it will never be lost on me that I went from in the thick of the pandemic teaching children with dwindling resources as education consistently gets defunded each year and just being so ridiculously burnt out that I now get to talk about fantasy sports on one side and then, TV and movies on the other side. I am so grateful. But that is definitely the biggest downside of like finding things out you don't want to find out and having it take away from the experience a little bit. Down to like what you were talking about on, like, not you specifically, but Jamie with her rant on the last Space Hero episode.
Oh no!
These damn chairs for Thunderbolts. Like, if like it any hint, or these damn chairs for Doomsday, any hint of like, will this person die in Thunderbolts? Well, Sue won't die in Fantastic Four, will
That was
she?
my thought. That was my first thought.
And of course, I mean, we saw their chairs, so we know they're going to be in Doomsday. And I feel like that, to be fair, that was one of the like ridiculously shocking parts about Avengers Infinity War. We knew Spider-Man Far From Home was coming out, and then he's gone. It did make that hit harder because when they actually pull a fast one on you, it definitely, I mean, it's kind of, this is weird. I've just finished playing a game right now. It's called Expedition 33. Charlie Cox is actually in it. Role-playing game, turn-based role-playing game, very fantasy, like wild story. But one of the cards that, like, one of the boosts for a character, it's like you can have at random, you're either going to do 50% damage on your attack or you're going to do 200% damage. It's a critical hit, or it's not very effective, but you're not going to know which. That's like what finding out early is. Because when you're wrong and you thought you knew something and they surprise you, it's a critical hit. It's 200% damage. It's like, hell yeah! This is so awesome. I had no idea this was coming. But when you know, and then it's true, it's like, oh, damn, that hurt a little bit. Before we, like, last thing on Spider-Man, I want to know what everybody's thought on John Bernthal's role in this movie is going to be. Because kind of what I'm expecting is like Hulk, Punisher, Spider-Man in the middle. Spider-Man maybe he's in his black suit. He gets a little too angry. He gets a little too aggressive. He's a little too strong. And Hulk's like, man, Spider-Man, that's not you. I know you, Peter. Banner forgot. Hulk didn't forget. We get that moment from comics. Everybody's fine. They go their separate ways, and he eventually, we get him giving his suit away, and it eventually lands on Scorpion. That's our Act 3 fight. That's kind of how I think it's going to go. It's going to be Punisher and Hulk being at odds with Spider-Man getting in the middle of it, and that's kind of what I think. What do you think, Jam?
Honestly, I didn't even think about that. I have really no clue. I would probably go with what you're saying. I think it's definitely going to be something with Spider-Man in the middle and lead up to a crazy big third act fight. But I'm kind of leaning to what Aaron said about Spidey getting this black suit in Secret Wars. So I don't know if I don't know because I feel like there has to be something with, like I was mentioning earlier, with Scorpion getting maybe the black suit here, and they might all three have to deal with him. I don't know. You make a really good point to me with when it comes to the black suit on Spidey, and maybe he has to go through that like darker path. That's been like a big thing online. People were talking about with maybe the Punisher trying to like hint towards him, because after he lost everything in No Way Home and things like that. So there's a lot of good theories I've seen online. I really like yours though. I have really none of my own personally. I don't know. It's just something that I'm excited to see. Like Aaron mentioned earlier, all of these characters being thrown into here. We got that set photo, which I don't want to say anything about, but somebody's certain logo on a tank. So there a certain gang's logo on the tank. So just all of these characters, it's going to be a really interesting story on how they weave this web. No pun intended. I guess pun intended there.
And the part of it I kind of forgot about is I do think this is like what leads into the rageful Hulk that Punisher's at odds with is probably Mr. Negative, who gets in his head a little bit. Aaron, what do you think Punisher's role is going to be?
There's a interview this week, I think it was this week, maybe it's last week. San Diego Comic-Con is stretched reality. But Kevin Feige said that one of the issues that Destin Derrick has on the wall for A Brand New Day is that iconic Punisher Spider-Man cover where he's like taking aim at Spider-Man. And something that, quite honestly, I used to joke all the time, you're never going to see this thing in comics ever. It's Amazing Spider-Man number 129, called The Punisher Strikes Twice. I was like, dude, this is never going to happen. Like, they're never going to have this man shoot at Spider-Man in a freaking Disney Marvel movie. This is never going to. And every year now, TJ, more and more gets knocked out of mine. This is never going to happen. Like,
there is no, this is never going to happen anymore.
It's literally, I'm like, that means nothing anymore. So there isn't there a arc in the comics where Punisher gets he's like either anti-venom or whatever, and it's Flash? Isn't that like a thing that happened in like last
Flash
decade?
Thompson becomes
as the
anti-venom.
Punisher.
Yeah.
They might not do that, but that might be interesting too. But I think you're onto something. There was way too much smoke around in Mr. Negative a year and a half ago when they were trying to write and figure out the story for this movie for him not to be in there. Also, if you haven't noticed, Sony loves to borrow from the stuff that happens in the Spider-Man video games for PlayStation. They love routing stuff through the stuff that they actually own themselves. So as a non-Marvel Comics related, like as far as like studio related villain, that is an easy one. That's like, no, this is like from our side of things. It's not Rhino or Green Goblin or the Lizard or whatever, like Dr. Octopus, where we've done this before in Marvel movies. That would make a lot of sense. I'm looking for what is Scorpion? Your Scorpion take is super interesting too. Like, as long as he gets Emperor Bellos, then like a dot of that gets on him, and then in Secret Wars we see that come to fruition, and Reed scan him and be like, yo, you got like fleas, you got black goop fleas. Would be fun. It would be very crazy. Half the audience might still be like, what the heck is going on? But more people go to watch Spider-Man than any other Marvel movies that don't have the word Avengers in front of them. So you might not have as much pushback as some of the other stuff. It's just going to be really funny. I have no idea. I'm so elated because I stay off of certain parts of social media that I have no idea what the tank thing, Jam, you just mentioned. I have no idea what that is. I don't know nothing. It's great. I walked into Fantastic Four First Steps and knew nothing. I know no post-credit scene. I ain't know anything. And I was like, man, this is how it used to feel like 7 years ago before this was this part of my job. Like, I'm excited to see whatever they've got going. And the fact, doesn't it come out in between? No, actually it comes out before Doomsday now. Comes out slightly before. It was originally supposed to come out afterwards, but now it comes out before. So
yeah, it's
we'll
getting
see
Multiverse
what
of Madness again.
Wait, Multiverse of Madness again?
Yeah. Whereas like it was supposed to come out before Multiverse of Madness. Or sorry, other way around. Multiverse of Madness was supposed to come out first so that America Chavez could be in Brand New Day or Spider-Man.
Oh my god, the freaking concept art. I forgot all of
and then instead they couldn't do that, so they were like, Ned's magical now. Ned's got magic now, and that's what we're doing.
Shout out to Jacob. Jacob is just about alone. Like, that's cool. Brandon hates that. He's very, very against that whole thing. And I'm like, whatever, man. It's fun. Like, it's a fun movie if you don't think about it too hard. Also has been emboldened through time, because now when I watch that and other things and people are like, shouldn't the adults be smarter? I'm like, no. Do you see where we live? No, they're not smarter. That was silly of you to even believe that. Why? Yeah. I don't know. I'm like, it's Spider-Man. Like, this is the thing that everybody gets excited for. It's going to be just like Deadpool Wolverine, where the fan base just decides we're just not going to get angry about this. And I'm like, I wish y'all could do this for the other movies.
For everything else. For everything else. For everything else. One thing I thought about, I seen online that is like probably one of my favorite theories, or rumors, whatever, but War Machine, when Punisher wore the War Machine outfit, like, because how else is he gonna keep up with Hulk and Spidey, right? Like, that was something I thought was really fascinating, him in the War Machine outfit. So if they could do something like that,
I think 100% you see damage control in this movie. I think that's absolutely a lock. I think there's absolutely a lock. I think that maybe even the third act big set piece thing is just in damage control warehouse. and people are grabbing weird Stark Tech stuff, and that's a part of Frank stumbling into it. That'd be really cool. That'd
Something real simple. He don't gotta have it the whole movie. He don't gotta have it a whole like arc. Just a couple action scenes. I love it. I love you cooking right there.
They're
Let's
setting
start
up the
diving
Sentinel
into-
program. That's what damage control is there for, guys. Like, you have to keep having them stack stuff so that when our beloved mutants, our weird children come about, there's something for them to be fighting against.
Let's start diving into the reason we're here, which I kind of forgot about with all this Spider-Man stuff, and that is Eyes of Wakanda. And that is fitting, since Marvel Studios and Disney kind of went, oh, you got Fantastic Four is already out here. We're just going to slide this one on to Disney Plus, not really tell anybody about it. And we're just going to put it there for you to find whenever you, almost a Netflix strategy. Here's the whole thing. Find it when you want to. It's there. We're not really going to tell you about it, though. Let's talk about Eyes of Wakanda. Jam, I'll throw it to you first. Give me kind of your spoiler-free thoughts on this miniseries as a whole.
Yeah. When I first seen the first little teaser they put out, I think it was like in a bunch. It was like a compiled like bunch of different teasers for a bunch of different things from Disney. I was like, I'm a little worried. It looked a little Pixar to me. And then they put out that first trailer, and I was like, okay, I love to admit when I'm wrong. That's like I'm honest. So going in, I was a little nervous. Then that first trailer, I was like, okay. Then watching it, I'm like, man, this animation is beautiful. One of my buddies, Jalen, over at the Alternate Timeline. Shout out to my guys for TAT. He texted me immediately. He was like on episode 2. He was like, you can just see into the Spider-Verse and its influence in everything in animation nowadays. And I didn't think about that until he said it. And as I'm watching it and seeing like the color palettes change and things like, I'm like, yep, I got it. And just, I don't know. That was really what the most thing that stood out to me, honestly, was the animation. Story was quick, loved it. Every episode, being something different, even if they connected. Yeah, I just loved, and I mean, you know me, I love Wakanda. So like building upon the lore and like the history, and the world building of Wakanda to me is fascinating, and how they, I guess this is not really a spoiler, but how it pertained to like history as well, like how they tied that to history or Marvel's history was fascinating. So that's really my first impressions of it.
I think the animation stuff is I found it to be like based on where you look pretty polarizing, because I feel like people have some really strong opinions on the animation we got in this series of either like, hey, I don't like it, this was not for me at all, or this is perfect and the best thing Marvel Studios has done in terms of visual aesthetics for animation. I kind of sit a little bit in the middle, whereas I thought the art super cool. I thought the art was incredible. And then the animation itself kind of felt like it would have been better 2D than 3D. Like when they're moving around, the action sequences just felt a little off to me. But I feel like it's important to separate like art from animation in that sense, because I think everything looked really good until it was moving around too much. Then it just felt a little off for me. But Aaron, what do you think of Eyes of Wakanda as a whole?
So I actually saw this a while ago with like the like preview of it. Like Marvel Animation did a presentation around like, was it What If season 2? Like forever ago. And there was maybe, I don't know, like 25-30 seconds of this in motion during that presentation. Like no one knew about it. They just dropped it in there. Brad Winterbaum goes, yeah, that's Eyes of Wakanda. That's our animated Black Panther series that Coogler and Ty Harris are working on. I was like, excuse me, sir, can we go back in the presentation? I missed the slide. What happened? And then, of course, because they didn't put it up on the internet after that, people were left to just kind of describe it to people. And then those like the stills came out, and people, of course, when people see still animation, they can't really conceive of how a show actually looks until they see it in motion. So there was people being like, this looks stilted, or it looks blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I'm telling you, I've seen the footage. Like Ryan Coogler, I have the footage. I have the numbers. Like it looks good. And then I'm glad to see people are kind of warming up to it now that they've seen it fully in motion. But I remember when those stills first dropped, people were like, this doesn't look good. I'm like, I assure you it does. I assure you it does. Most of that footage from that presentation was from episode 1 with like Noni fighting the lion, and I was like, what the heck is this? What is this? What just silly. So things mirror each other over time. Like, why is the show releasing out of nowhere? I don't know. Why did we show it out of nowhere without like any kind of preamble? It was just kind of like here. I don't know. God bless Brad. I'm glad it exists. It is also for all the people who are like the what ifs of the world, or X-Men 97 being like an Elseworlds thing, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man being its own thing. Like, Eyes of Wakanda is in the MCU, which is nuts. Like, it's crazy that this is the one that actually is connected to it. In fact, if you look on the Disney Plus Marvel timeline, it is the first entry now, which is wild as well. I'm like, how is this before Eternals? But that's for another day.
This is a topic I am very excited to bring up with you guys. I have theories, I have thoughts, but I want to save it till we're breaking down the last episode.
Okay, yeah, but I enjoyed it. But yeah, like this whole thing was born out of an enigma, and an enigma it shall stay, which is I guess fitting.
It does feel disappointing that it didn't get like this, and going back to Ironheart, that both of these didn't get more. Ironheart got like a week-long super big marketing push, but that was about it. And both of these just kind of got slid in, and I so badly wish I could remember the tweets or the article that I read this in. But I thought it was such a good point, and it was right before Sinners came out. And it was that anytime there is a project by Black creatives targeted for a Black audience, it does way better than anything the general like projection groups project. They're always under projected in terms of numbers, viewership numbers, money. And they were saying this in regards to what Sinners was supposed to do at the box office before it had come out. And then Sinners absolutely shattered, and I went, oh shit, this was good call. Like, way to call your shot on that one. And I feel like we saw the same thing with Ironheart, where they just slid this onto Disney Plus, and all of a sudden, well, no, this show is performing better viewership wise than Daredevil. Way more people are watching this than Daredevil. And so it's like, again, maybe marketing teams need to do a better job of going, no, people are going to like this show. This is done well. And maybe, our room is filled with white people, so we don't really get it. And I think that could be like a little bit of a case with what we're seeing again here. Let's dive into Eyes of Wakanda, episode 1. This was the one of the 4 that I was lowest on. Jam, I think you messaged me when my reaction came out, and you're like, oh, I can't wait. Like, or no, it was when I texted you about coming on the show. And I was like, episode 1 didn't hook me. It wasn't bad, but it didn't hook me. Episode 2 hooked me. Episode 3 hooked me more. Episode 4 drove it home. And so 1 was where I was a little softest on it. I felt that, the lion was really cool. Noni was really cool, and getting to see her journey of becoming a war dog. But it sort of felt like this is half of a story I've seen before, with like the lion and Killmonger having like a lot of similarities with, a somewhat good idea of what we should do to, expand Wakanda's growth, but then going about it the totally wrong way. And then it felt like it almost felt like in this story we weren't supposed to know what the war dogs were. And it kind of felt like that was almost like a bit of a reveal. And I was like, yeah, we know this stuff. That's what she's doing. This is a war dog. And so that's what I kind of felt like for 1. But that's really I am expanding on my negative thoughts because it's kind of the only episode that I have negative thoughts on. But Aaron, what were your thoughts on episode 1?
So like there's an effective introduction of this. I think that at some point in the last 3 to 4 years, a big thing that people keep talking about is like there's too much to remember, and there's too much stuff, and I don't want to have to relearn what comes in anything. So for completionists like me and you, TJ, you must sit through the baby blocks, which you are familiar with, TJ. Very familiar with blocks now. Of like, here's what the war dogs are from Black Panther 1. Here's what they do. Here's why it's bad, why vibranium doesn't need to be in the outside world. But once we get through that stuff, once we get through the introduction, you have like a rollicking, fun, like martial arts sort of heist thing, and it's good. And she's kicking butt. And like Cress, hearing Cress again is so nice. I forgot how sad it is that you don't get him every week on the CW anymore. But yeah, it really picked up steam and kind of added fun texture to the world in a way. And funny enough, like I don't know if they planned this because I know that they're very different corners of the Disney Corporation, but like, did the Predator Killers team talk to Todd and them about weird warriors from different cultures fighting some other things from other cultures? I wonder if there was any dialogue cross the streams, because I'm like, is Doofus Mertz like, this happened twice? That's weird, isn't it?
I was watching that and I was thinking like, I'm getting Predator vibes here. I said that out loud to my wife Ava. Jam, what were your thoughts on episode 1 of Eyes of Wakanda? We got Noni going up against the Lion. I'm lower on it, Aaron, but Aaron brought up a really good point that, like, yeah, they got to do some type of, as much as I think that there's too much homework is a perception and not a real thought, you know, like, I think that's a bad PR thing that has been created with Marvel as opposed to a reality. But I understand like that concept of why they would feel the need to bring all that information back up to date to, you know, start a show. I just want that. Then give me a damn 8-episode show. Anytime we talk about a Disney Plus show, I'm going to bring it up. Stop giving me television that's 6 episodes long. That's a movie. And this was just like 4 different little mini things, you know, like this was not even 6. This was 4. Give me more. It's really cool. I want more of it. Don't give me less. You guys are talking about giving less? I disagree. Give me more. I want more all the time. I work from home and I watch a lot of TV. I want more. Jam, what'd you think about Eyes of Wakanda episode 1?
I mean, y'all hit it on the money right there. Like, give me more. Episode 1, I gotta disagree with you, bro. It really hooked me. Maybe like the first 5-10 minutes, but like Aaron's point, once like the heist stuff started going and you got to see her like journey, I was captivated. I mean, Noni, and I'm a fan of Noni. You getting to see her into the next episode too. Like, I loved seeing her become the war dog. And Aaron, you hit it on the money with Cress's voice acting. Like, I'm like, bro, I'm getting chills right now. I wish y'all could see, but I was getting chills watching and just listening to it. I'm like, yeah, you brought up a good point that I really did not think about with like the Killmonger similarities. But this felt a lot more, I don't know, just evil, bro. Like, I think with Killmonger, I guess because you had more time with Killmonger, right? But with this, it just felt more egotistical than Killmonger did. I felt like I understood Killmonger a lot more than I did with the Lion. And I guess obviously they did that visually, you know, showing you the chains and things like that. But I didn't think about those similarities until you brought it up. But man, he was awesome. And I think that episode, besides episode 3, might have actually also had my favorite fighting, like choreography, animation, all of that in there. I think that was the best fighting. I loved everything that he was wearing, all of the like the gear and stuff, all the vibranium trinkets. It was fire. It was fire. So I really liked this first episode. It got me. And to segue a little bit, it actually to me was better than the second episode. So I'll leave you with that.
Don't leave it with me. Continue. Give me your thoughts on episode 2.
Man, episode 2, I love the concept. I love the concept of the Trojan. I don't know if this is a spoiler, I guess, but the Trojan.
Oh,
like,
full spoilers for now on. Deep dive
breakdown.
breakdown.
Okay. All right. So the whole concept of this taking place in history and in Marvel's history, I thought that was genius. I was a little iffy on the execution. I'm one where I need more show don't tell, and I think they did a really good job of that in the first episode. And in episode 2, I felt like it was a lot of dialogue with Achilles. And I just didn't need all of that. Like, I wanted to see the mission, like, you know what I'm saying? You do see the mission, but I just felt like it was too much of Achilles that I didn't need. And again, I love the concept of him in history, but I just didn't need the whole frenemies type, you know, friends turn enemies I didn't need them to build on that friendship. I didn't need to see that. Like I just felt like just show it to me. Show them more in action in a like they did in that first scene. So that was really my biggest issue with it. But I did think the concept was better than the execution. That's what I'll leave it with.
You know, shout out to our friend Jamie Dirac once again. But when I'm seeing Achilles and Memnon in this episode, I thought they were gonna kiss. Like that didn't seem like friends to enemies to me. That was like lovers who were too busy on the battlefield.
I did not think about that, and that's you 100%.
Realize their relationship. That's kind of like you go, Darren.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, I was waiting for the text. She's finishing it right now. I'm waiting for the text. After we're done, I'm sure it's gonna be a text of like, so Aaron, you I'm like, yes, Jamie, yes, sure. In the American educational system, they had us watch Troy instead of going to school for a couple of days. So I have a big affection for the movie because not having to go to school.
This is one of my favorite movies. I love Troy.
Oh my God. I saw it like 4 times in high school. Literally, like the same thing. Like, hey, yo, no class today. Go to the auditorium. We're watching Troy. And I'm like, all right, sick. Brad Pitt just doing folks in on the battlefield. This is gonna be a great day. Great day.
My favorite Brad Pitt role. I mean, the more I find out about this guy, the more I wish I knew less about him. But in terms of like an actor, my favorite Brad Pitt role, I think, is Rusty in the Oceans franchise.
Okay.
But number 2 for me is Achilles. I friggin' love that movie so much.
Amazing. So anything that like puts me in that mode, I was like, okay, I'm here for listening to whatever this is gonna be. And then the same sort of thing where I was like, oh, this tension, like they don't trust each other. Like the same thing that happens in any big army throughout history when you're all not from the same place and it is a relationship of convenience. At some point, when things get strained and everybody's not fighting for the exact same thing, you run into problems. And it's the worst possible time to have anything happen in any sort of dissension form amongst you when you're trying to do this big historical siege. So this one, I really like the art in I want to say the 3rd episode, like probably like maybe number 1 of the 4, but this is right up there because the way that they did the city of Troy and the scale is some real wild business where I'm like, some of the budget went to just making this city look pretty and the painterly backgrounds and stuff, and I have to give it up for that.
I love this episode so much. I adore Greek mythology and getting to see, like, one, I love Troy, but even just the idea of, you know, having Helen of Troy, this, you know, figure in all of these stories that is like the most beautiful woman in history. The idea of having her jeweled in vibranium, it's so great. It's so cool. I love getting to see Memnon and Achilles work together throughout this thing and have them go against each other at the end, have them beat him by stabbing him in the heel. You know, like it's perfect stuff, textbook stuff. It made me think like, damn, like, so we got the Odyssey coming up in a couple years. We got Spider-Man's already in it. The Punisher's already in it. The guy who plays Loki in the plays in Thor Ragnarok and Thor Love and Thunder, that Matt Damon fellow who plays Loki he's in the Odyssey, you know. So that random Asgardian is there. We got Batman already in this movie. I kind of feel like Lupita Nyong'o's a war dog. She's playing Memnon in the Odyssey coming up, and we're gonna get to see her do some badass stuff with Achilles. But in actuality, I thought like that was a really fun little twist in this story. I thought it was so cool. Moving forward, any other thoughts on episode 2 before we kind of transition to 3?
Aaron hit it on the money with the scale. I didn't think about that either. Like visually, how just the beginning of the episode when they climb up on the cliff, and then Achilles turns, and then it's like, oh shit! It's like, yeah, that's so you hit it. So I just had to say, yeah.
Episode 3 is like it ramped it up even further for me, and I thought just kind of any inclusion of an Iron Fist, and you get kind of like an Iron Fist against a Wakandan warrior, regardless of what the rest of the story is, that's cool as fuck. That's cool as fuck, and like I could just watch them fight and do cool shit the whole time. I had forgotten, so I watched right before they did all these recent character posters that had like the Iron Fist there in the character poster. And I forgot that they had announced this, or if not announced, like talked about it. It was rumbled like long time ago that Iron Fist wasn't there. That Iron Fist, an un-Iron Fist, would be in this project. But I forgot. I totally forgot. And so when I'm watching these screeners, that was like a sweet reveal that I didn't see coming. And that made it all the more fun, like bringing it back to what we talked about earlier. When you know all of this stuff, the reveals aren't as fun. I forgot this one. So the reveal of having an Iron Fist in there and a completely new Iron Fist in there. This isn't an Iron Fist that we had seen from comics before. I had seen a lot of people speculate that it was going to be an Iron Fist whose name I don't remember off the top of my head, but is from like the 1850s, worked with some pirates. But this was an original. Her name is Jirani. I thought she was cool as hell, and I thought this episode was too. Aaron, what'd you think of episode 3?
Man, so this is the one that everybody had circled on the list. I remember being at D23 with like the rest of the Phase Hero crew while Brandon was hosting the animation panel, and like Todd kind of just blurted this out during the thing, and everybody in the room went, "Wait, what? Excuse me? Like, what do you mean? Like, what?" Because I guess I don't know. Depending on how you feel about Defenders, I know that they're in the timeline or whatever. This is like the first one that we've seen in an MCU timeline thing do something that isn't the Danny Rand from those shows, which is kind of wild to consider. So everybody had whenever the Iron Fist was going to show up, like circled on the calendar. But like apart from that, it is like a fun story. Also, someone over at Marvel Animation loves Aladdin. Basha feels so much like Aladdin. I was like watching it like, what in the world? Like, that's very funny. Like, why is he? I mean, it works, so don't mess with it. But it is clear that like someone was like, ah, man, this archetype works for a reason. Let's do that. And having an Iron Fist go up against them, and the artifacts, showing the other artifacts from the Lions, like like War Chest in action. The freaking mirror shield is one of the coolest weapons I've seen in a minute. I am sad that we're probably never gonna see anybody use that thing in an MCU thing again. It makes me so sad. But yeah, a good story, a fun story about being open and honest with people, charming performances by all the main characters, and you're more, even though a lot of it takes place in the like Wakandan like base, like like their military facility, it still manages to have some really fun stuff. And I mean, I always wondered, they talk about how the trains mine vibranium and take it through different parts of the island and how it works in the first movie, but I was like, this is a very large network of trains you're talking about. There has to be some more stuff to make it work. And then they
say she invented that.
Yeah, I think so, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
How are those things already there?
I don't, that she wasn't the first genius, I guess. I don't know. We'll get to the weird spiritual forebears of Black Panther's future in episode 4.
100%. Jam, what do you think about episode 3, the Iron Fist versus Black Panther stuff? I actually really enjoyed that most of this episode was spent in Wakanda.
Yeah, I love that they got to show us. I think it was Xiao Lao, or not? No, Xiao Lao's the dragon, but where she's at and like where Xiao Lao's at. I love that they showed that one of the one of the 7 heavenly cities.
Kunlun, or did they call it something else?
Kunlun, right? No, they didn't call it that, but did she even mention where she's from? Like, I don't think she name dropped it, did she? I could be wrong, and I just watched it.
They did, and I thought it sounded like it wasn't Kunlun, but
I don't think it was. But I know she name dropped Xiao Lao, which was awesome. I love the moment when she actually used the power and broke the whole room. Like, that was fire. But the episode was actually my favorite episode. I think, just like I said earlier, besides this episode, I love the choreography, like in the fighting and stuff in the first. But this one was really where I felt like they shined. And she was just so badass. I mean, so badass. Just not just in her fighting, but like she had so many aura forming moments, like when she was like on the train and it went backwards and then went down, and she's just looking at him with the mask on. I'm like, oh, that's gangsta. That's gangsta. It was cool. I didn't realize I thought she was actually the one that you were talking about from the comics. And you're right, she is an original. I didn't even think about that. So when I was watching it, I'm like, oh man, this makes me want to go look more, you know what I'm saying, about that, because I remember reading Immortal Iron Fist, and I'm like, I don't remember her being in that, even though they go through some of the Iron Fist in the history, but nonetheless, she was awesome. Didn't even think about Basha being like a lad. I didn't catch that arc. Like that's fun as hell. I love that this was in Wakanda, and I love that scene that they kept coming back to, where they're all looking at the window, like just how beautiful this world is. Like you always can, no matter what era you're in, you can. I feel like just take a moment to like take a moment in of Wakanda at no matter what. Like you just take a breath in. And so overall, this episode was fun. I love that guy. I don't remember his name, but the security, like the head of security, I thought he was freaking hilarious. The whole episode. Um, that's really it. It was my favorite episode.
I think it might have been my favorite as well. And I want to transition us to episode 4 because this is really where I all of a sudden get into theory mode. And I think it could be, I think it's fair to look at how some of the things, so we're talking spoilers, I can get into it, but like the time travel aspects of episode 4, I feel like on the surface, you can kind of look at it and go, a lot of this shit doesn't add up. And so I don't know how I feel about it. But for me, I love to theorize and I love to connect pieces and I love to think, okay, this is how this could work and this is how this could work. And so I have all kinds of theories that I'm ready to rock with. But in this final episode, we get, what is referred to as the final Black Panther. She goes back in time because the Horde, who, if either of you have read any comics with the Horde, feel free to dive into their history here. But they run into the Horde and destroy the world. Wakanda is still isolated, and they didn't fight with the other heroes. And so when the time came, they took down the rest of the earth, and then they took down Wakanda piece by piece. And so they needed to find a way to connect the world and Wakanda so that they could be fighting together in the future. Before I get into my full sets of theories, Jam, I'll throw it to you first. What did you think of Eyes of Wakanda episode 4?
I thought it was interesting. Following the third prince, right? He just wants a place. He just wants a place. He wants a place in history, and I felt like that's just his emotional story there. Like it's something I think we all kind of can resonate with, right? Like we all want our place or find our purpose or make our mark, right? Like in something. And so I just thought that little tidbit was something I resonated with. But then also the old war dog who's trying to retire and like just go home and be with his family. It's like, well, that's something I could resonate with too after a long day of work like I had today before we got on pod. Like, what did we say? It was like, man, I'm just so glad it's the weekend. I get to spend time. I'm going to see Superman with my mom and my niece. And it's like, so I resonated with these two characters really well, like on an emotional level. But then when you get to the part like where the Black Panther, the final Black Panther, the Queen pulls up, that's kind of where my head started going. Like you mentioned, is all of my theorizing and how this plays into time travel and all of this stuff. And I thought she was so badass. And as I'm watching it, I'm like, well, how did she build this suit? Or how did she do this? Or where did this come from? And so, like you said, when you go 500 years to the future, it's supposed to be around Black Panther 1's timeline, right? So as I'm doing these pieces, that's when I'm like, all right, I don't care about none of this. None of that stuff matters. I don't care if it makes sense or if it connects. I'm just here for a good time. And man, this was a good time. This was a good time. Like the whole way it connects to history, full circle, the way it's calling back to like, yo, we have to depend on our ancestors. Like that's what it was. Like her moment was I have to rely on them. Like I've told my story to them. Now I have to rely on them. And I think that's something I resonate with too, is like, man, sometimes I look back of like things that my family has done, to set the stones on where I'm at in my life. And so it was just so many things like layered that I felt like you could talk about deeply, but overall the episode was fun. It was fun. That's the best way I could describe it. Was fun.
I agree with you 100% that it was a good time and a lot of fun. I have the opposite mindset of you where each time something like time travel related pops in, I'm like, okay, so if this, lock this in. We're going to theorize after the episode, not while the episode's ongoing. I'm going to enjoy the episode, but like, okay, remember this, remember this, remember this, remember this. Like get all my pieces in place on the table so that I can put the puzzle together when the episode is done. Aaron, what do you think of episode 4?
I mean, this is the most MCU entry of an animated thing that they've ever made. Like, other than the Panther of it all, like even aside from it literally creating a Mobius strip where it creates Killmonger in that museum so that we can have Black Panther 1 happen. like the fight where Kuda and Tafari tried to take away the axe from Last Panther is like shot for shot, beat for beat. Winter Soldier and Steve Rogers trying to beat up Tony Stark to get him out of there. There's like what we do now echoes throughout history said by Tafari, which is what Chadwick Boseman says at the end of Black Panther. Like there's a ton of weird little stuff where it's like this is the one that has the most to do with all the stuff you guys have watched. But even aside, like I know like Adam Barnhart was really excited about this, friend of the show, like and big for the Iron Fist of it all. But he's been waiting to see the Horde for God, I don't know, like a decade. Let's just ballpark it since before he was a father. So it's been a long time now. And this gives you that, weirdly enough. I also just want to shout out like the sweetness of having Annika Noni Rose be the last Black Panther. That's very, very nice. It's a thing in a time where a lot of people rightfully draw a little bit of issue with how they're marketing some of the content for different audiences. To let the first Black Disney princess be a Black Panther again for the second time and actually have this one be in like the main continuity is not like lost on me in that way as well. I am curious to hear what you have to say about the time travel of it all, because I just assume that much like Loki going back and doing all that crap that she was supposed to set up the sacred timeline and that the Horde's not supposed to take us out of the game. Like, I don't even know if we have a sacred timeline anymore because I don't know what happened to King the Conqueror. There's a bunch of fun loose ends that cause disarray on my own podcast all the time between some of the hosts. Like all of us have different interpretations of like, well, does any of that matter? Does any of this matter? What about Miss Marvel? There's just 8 million questions that everybody has about time travel every time it comes up now because the rules have changed like 5 times. And we'll probably change again. Get ready for Doomsday, folks. We're going to have another one. They're just going to keep adding rules on top of rules on top of rules till we're all cross-eyed. But I did enjoy it, and you did get some really fun performances by all these voice actors. I enjoyed seeing Annika, of course, be like Black Panther again. That was really dope. And, you have to run certain things you mentioned up the food chain to use them in animation. We know that, and in like TV. Like when you say the words, oh, but do we want to use Mephisto? It's got to go up to Kev. Big Kev has final veto on that. If you go, we're going to use the Horde or something. There has to have been some sort of crazy conversation between Brad Winterbaum, Kevin Feige, and the creative council about, are we going to push that out into the world? Like, why that? Is that something that, like, just like I'm sure there was with the Iron Fist stuff too, like there's a bunch of stuff here I'm like, I can't believe that Todd used this stuff. Like the Horde before Annihilus is wild. I never would have dreamed in a million years it'd be like an animated show on Disney Plus is where you're going to see the Horde pop up first. That's where it's going to be. Like, so thank you for just giving us all this stuff. And like you said, making me and TJ's jobs and JF's jobs easier because it's just theory city up out of the end of this thing.
So I very much was looking at this as like a something Kang orchestrated, or He Who Remains Kang orchestrated to make happen to create this, time, like the sacred timeline. And so that's why it makes sense that this is, to me, first in the Marvel Cinematic Universe timeline, because when they essentially, in Eyes of Wakanda, what they're essentially saying is, here's how the sacred timeline started. There was no sacred timeline until this event, because this universe, on the path that it was going, eventually gets shut down by Annihilus. So the last Black Panther, and the Horde, apologies. So eventually this Black Panther and probably He Who Remains / Kang had to be like, well, no, I need that Earth. I need them not to be destroyed. And so we got to figure something out here. Let's plant the seeds, make this happen. And that we know from Avengers Endgame that you cannot change your present or your future from going into the past. You can only create a new one, which is why not He Who Remains, the Ancient One, was sitting there like, no, you need to return these stones to exactly the same spot because I don't want another branch reality. We're not trying to create that right now. Well, they went back and they created one. We see when she returns back to her timeline, she dies. She fades away. Like they didn't do anything for theirs. They created a new one where Wakanda and the world could thrive, which eventually becomes the sacred timeline. So I found it interesting that what they're kind of implying, at least to my understanding, is that this sacred timeline that is, we see visualized and symbolized in Loki season 2 as a tree, as the trunk, kind of started out as a branch. It started as a branch and developed into this trunk as He Who Remains eventually kind of trimmed all of these other side pieces. And the other thing that I thought was interesting is you look at, so this was a universe that lost to the Horde. Why? Because Wakanda and Earth's heroes weren't aligned, and so they did not fight together. So that means they had also not fought together for Thanos, meaning this Earth didn't have a Thanos. And so my headcanon theory that I've created is that this universe that we see the final Black Panther in, and that we see the the world ended without Thanos, I think that is Star-Lord T'Challa's timeline. Because why wouldn't have there been a Thanos? Because Star-Lord T'Challa already convinced him that this wasn't the way to go about things. That's why they didn't fight a Thanos, because that's Star-Lord's timeline. And we, even at the beginning of this episode, see the Watcher. We see the Watcher making a quick appearance at the beginning of this episode. So that's the little headcanon that I have, is this.
I didn't even see him.
What?
I didn't even see him. We did?
Yeah. He pokes himself in right at the beginning of this episode in the sunset. Or the sunrise, I think it is. And so I think this is Star-Lord T'Challa's eventual timeline, which is why they do not face Thanos at all, because he already convinced them not to be bad. Eventually the Horde comes, and this last Black Panther goes, okay, we gotta create a new one, either if it's for ourselves, if it works, or if not, this new timeline. And them eventually not reclaiming that piece eventually leads to Killmonger finding it, Killmonger stealing it, and that taking place in this timeline. And so the timeline didn't get created at that moment when Killmonger found it, but all the way back when they replaced it. And so that's where my theory goes, is that the sacred timeline originally was a branch set in motion from this spot, and this branch came from Star-Lord T'Challa's eventual timeline, that universe.
Interesting.
So you're saying...
Go ahead, Jeff.
Sorry. So you're saying Star-Lord T'Challa's timeline was the original timeline?
Or one of them, because like in theory, there's all of these different branches, like the Foxverse and the Sonyverse and these different things like that. What I'm more so saying is that not was a main one, but it was the branch
that created the main one
off of that one.
Interesting.
You locked in on one thing that is like super interesting about this, is that she says the rightful king comes back to do, like, in that universe, I would assume that Killmonger is the one that takes over the country because Star-Lord T'Challa is too busy out being guardian of the galaxy in that universe. So I guess it does make sense. That and the Watcher make sense.
The rightful king returns to bring Wakanda to the world.
Right, exactly. That makes so interesting.
And I thought that was the callback to Black Panther 1, him opening the world up for Wakanda to the world, right? So that's very interesting.
Because that had to happen, and that doesn't happen unless Killmonger steals it, and Killmonger doesn't steal it unless they don't take it back all those centuries ago.
True. That's real deep, dear goodness gracious.
So she created our timeline, essentially.
That's how I view it.
That's how you... Okay.
Because that's to me what
I like
they were saying. That's what they were saying when they showed MBJ in live action at the end of that, right?
Right.
That's my interpretation of it, at least. Overall, I think this show was something that if we got more of it, I would have liked even better. But, grading it, especially considering that it's just something they just dropped, I think it's a hit. It's like it's a swing and a hit. Absolutely. I think this was a really strong show. I would personally give it, I think, like a 7.5 to 8 out of 10, probably closer to the 8 side. 8 out of 10 for me. What I do want to ask you guys, though, as well, is like, what would you rank it out of 10? And also, where would you rank it among other Marvel animated projects? I think, to me, it kind of falls as like a clear behind X-Men 97, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, then Eyes of Wakanda, above What If. I think there were some individual stories in What If I might have liked more, but as a whole, I think this is a better, composed project than What If. So I would kind of have it as like a, behind Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man and X-Men 97, above the What Ifs. How about you, Aaron?
I think that makes about as much sense as I would say, because I really like Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, and that's not just because I like Jeff. Like it is really, really strong, and of course, 97 speaks for itself. You had half the darn fan base talking about don't even do the X-Men in live action, just make a big movie with these versions of the characters and be done with it. So it would have to go back there because you're right. There are some real standout What If adventures over those 3 seasons. The Supreme Strange one, Marvel 1819. Man, there's the zombies one. The original zombies one was insane. Like, there's a
Star-Lord,
bunch of them that
T'Challa.
are good. Star-Lord, T'Challa. Like, there's a bunch of them that are really, really good. But there's also ones where I can't even remember that's in that season. Because there's 3 seasons of them. So yeah, I think that rating goes there, and I think because 97 was like a 10 out of 10, like as good as one of these animated shows, as good as one of the Marvel TV shows can be, period, it would have to be around like a 7.2 or a 7.3, I'd imagine, just because like it's only 4 episodes too. Like there's not as much to work with. If this thing had been 8 and there had been more adventures and you could have got Letitia Wright back for one of the episodes and it had really built some connective tissue between Wakanda Forever and whatever 3 is going to be, we'd be talking about an 8.2, 8.5 style thing. But because there's not enough time, yeah, I think that fits right in. I also think that this is just stealth stuff, and this is like Aaron Preen super crackpot theater, me calling my shot years in advance. But I think the reason that you have this exist in general is that you're going to see Angela Bassett in that last Panther armor at some point in Secret Wars, because they did her wild in the second one. And I've been on the team of she going to be in that armor at some point in one of these because it was crazy to kill her. So there's a already built-in variant version of a Queen of Wakanda now with a costume that exists that you've seen before for everyone to go, oh my God, when it happens. So
I can't remember. Was that What If where they showed us like Ramondo was like the head of the Dora?
Yeah.
That cool.
That's the one where Killmonger is like friends with Tony Stark,
yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
I feel like the premise of that one I thought was weird, but like some individual parts of that I thought were cool as hell.
Yeah, I'm just saying it's not gonna be nothing big. It's gonna be just like the rescue armor, where it just happens. There's a big splash page, and everybody gets go, oh my God, they got her back. And have like, me and the aunties and uncles in the corner just going ape, what, for 15 seconds before something else crazy happens. I'm assuming before like Ben Affleck comes out there and acts like you can't see or something.
Jam, where would you rank it out of 10, and what would you where would you compare it to the other animated shows?
Yeah, I'm trying to think even about the other animated shows besides X-Men 97 and Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man and What If. I'm like, is there anything else? What
Zombies
else?
is coming, but it's not out yet.
That's really it, right? Like it's just
Yeah.
those 3. Yeah, I would have to say it's very close to me actually, because it's only 4 episodes. It's very close to Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. X-Men 97 is like so high on my list up there. Like it surpasses some of the live action. You know what I mean? Like some of the live action shows. But
I Am Groot exists. I forgot.
oh man, I Am Groot. Oh man, I got I Am Groot number 2. No. uh overall, this was probably 7. Like I'm with you, TJ, about a 7.5, 8, leaning more towards the 8. I think I would be at a solid 8, 8.5 if I had like 8 episodes. I love what Aaron just said. Like just giving me the teacher right back, bro. Oh my god, bro, that would have been amazing. Or even oh, I'm blanking. What is
You just had like the Kobe Bryant pissed off playoff face on there when you were talking about like the idea of getting the teacher right back. You were like,
I
it was
just
like the
need it.
Kobe
It would have
face, a
been
little bit of
perfect.
like, no one can stop me.
It would just be so perfect. And then Nakia, imagine like because Nakia was technically a war dog, right? Like I would have loved to see them bring her on and let her like voice act and cook and create it. Like me freaking let her write her own story just in that world. Like so I think there's room actually for more of this show. Like give me another 4 episodes next year. Like if you're gonna be doing if you're gonna be doing seasonal like or what is it? What did they say? A year? They want to do yearly television. I'll take 4 episodes of this every year. You can make Eyes of Wakanda for at least 5 seasons. You know what I mean? Just like little stories throughout history. I'm not pitching anything, Marvel. I'm just saying, like, we want more. Yeah, I would probably say like a solid 7.5, 8 for me.
It's one of those things where I think if I look at it as of what I want the series to be and what I think it could be, I rank it closer to a 7 because I want it to be longer and want there to be more of it. When I view it as a 4 episode limited series, then it's closer to an 8 for me. Of like, if there's no options other than 4 episodes, and like this is the length it's going to be, this is what you're going to get, this is what the project is supposed to be, then it's closer to an 8 for me. Of just like viewing it for what it is as opposed to what I want it to be. But I think that does it for this week's episode, even on a short wheel television. So I still can't keep a podcast under an hour, but that's all right because it is so enjoyable to hang out with both of you. Aaron, I will throw it to you first. Where can the people find you on socials? Where can they find your podcasts?
Oh goodness, it's at Summer Lake Hornet on all platforms. It's at HowToWatchFreeTV for Free Space, the free streaming TV podcast. We have a new episode I just filmed with Tony Pauletto from Love in the Time of Hydra, the other half of Jamie Drax's household. And also at Face Hero with Brandon Davis and Jamie and Jenna Anderson of Go Read Some Comics fame, who's best friends with James Gunn now.
Yeah.
Just so you know, they're best friends. I really wish I could have been in the room for all of that. But yeah, we're covering where to find free TV, free movies, stuff for people who are looking to trim down, get some stuff on their budgets. And there's just a wealth of things to watch around here. Like I always hear people be like, I don't know what to watch. There's nothing to watch. And I'm like, there's a lot of TV, guys. There's a absolute mystifying amount of content on the internet for free that you don't even have to pirate. Like you can just use your library card if necessary and go do that. So yeah, howtowatchfree.tv is the newsletter. You can sign up. I send you 3 free recommendations every week, and where to find them right there from the email. We have a little store, the whole shot. Thank you, TJ, for letting me hawk my wares and talk to you about Eyes of Wakanda.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. We are always happy to have you on, and hopefully we'll be making it happen again soon. We're potentially cooking something in the mix for Freakier Friday if we can make the dates work out here. I thought I had a funny story. Like literally 30 minutes before I'm supposed to drive to the theater, I have the realization that it is next week that I'm seeing Freakier Friday. Not this week. I thought it came out this weekend. And so I was like literally 30 minutes before my showtime, figured like, hey, I better double check, make sure I'm going to the right theater. And I double check and realize, yep, I have the right theater. I did not have the right week. And so hopefully we'll be getting something going for that one. We will, of course, be covering Peacemaker here on the podcast week to week, plus tons of great articles dropping on the website right now. I got a shout out to Carolyn Lee, fellow agent of Fandom, who you know, if you've been watching our Love Island show, and she came on for, I believe, Agatha all along for an episode as well. But she has been absolutely cooking this week, and so you can find her Eyes of Wakanda review, all of her The Summer I Turned Pretty recap. She had an interview with Ashby Gentry of Netflix's My Life with the Walter Boys, which you can find up on the Agents of Fandom YouTube page and wherever you get your podcasts. So check out the website, check out our socials at Agents Fandom on TikTok and Twitter, Agents of Fandom everywhere else. Subscribe here on YouTube while you're hitting that like button and wherever you get your pods. If you're nice, if you like us, if you're a good person, leave us a 5-star rating, because that helps a lot on the podcast feed. Just one of those things gives you a nice little boot. You see those listeners go up for a couple of weeks. Jam, where can the people find you on socials? Where can they find your work?
Oh man, yes. Check me out, Jam Session, on all platforms. I am a Twitch affiliate streamer, so I pretty much stream daily. Today is actually my Twitch affiliate anniversary, so I'm about to actually go stream right now, and do a giveaway. So you guys can come tap in on Twitch, my main platform. But overall, I also do a podcast on YouTube called The Jam Pod. You could find me there. Call it The Jam Pod because I am Jam, but we also like to journey across media and talk about a bunch of different things that we love. Episode 10 just came out. Still new, guys. I'm still new. I'm just starting, really. So, episode 10, super fantastic, is out. Had my good friend TJ on with me, as well as AF from Agents of Fandom, and my good buddy CJ, who is also a Twitch affiliate streamer. That's really it. Jam Session on all platforms, and check out the Jam Pod wherever you get your podcast. I appreciate everybody who supports. And TJ, I appreciate you for asking me to come on and talking about Eyes of Wakanda. Aaron, it was a pleasure to meet you. Pleasure.
Thank you, Jam.
I always gotta, every time, it's the Phase Hero co-hosts are frequent here of the Agents of Fandom podcast. Jamie and Aaron are here all the time. Jenna and Brandon hop on when they can. But anytime one of you guys are here, I just have to, really hammer home how appreciative I am. And I don't get to make the live shows as often as I once did. I still try when I can, but I don't make the lives as often as I once did. But when the four of you were starting out, it not only gave me like an outlet and a inspiration to start doing this and talking about it as well, but like, I don't have the exact number of the group chat off the top of my head, but like 10 of my very best friends in the world I met in the Twitch chat for the Phase Hero podcast, and we fly out to visit each other all the time, and it's really great. So Aaron, I appreciate you. Shout out to you guys at the Phase Hero podcast. Shout out to the Jam Pod. You can find, like Jam said, myself and AF on the most recent episode talking Superman and Fantastic Four, and hopefully I got to work out, not hopefully, it's going to happen, but I still got to work out the kinks. It's been a busy stretch, but hopefully you'll be seeing Jam's words here up on agentsfandom.com as well here in the near future. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. We will see you again next week. On behalf of myself, Jam, and Aaron, peace.